Everybody, welcome to episode 6. Today we're headed to the store. It's Sunday afternoon and we're gonna go grab some jack stands. The coilovers haven't come in, but they're gonna come in hopefully in a couple days, and I got all my supporting pieces and all my bushings and stuff. So today we're gonna get started on replacing all of those and getting everything ready for the coilovers. I've watched a video on kind of how to replace it. It seems pretty straightforward. We're just gonna take it as it comes and enjoy our Sunday afternoon. Okay, so we got jack stands and we got all of our parts. Also bought an OBD2 reader and a multimeter. Anyhow, so first things first, I need to get this hanging bike out of here because it's like totally gonna be in our way. And then we're gonna jack up the back, get it on jack stands, and then we'll get to work. So yeah, basically what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab a piece of wood and we're gonna jack it up in the back on the diff. People say it's okay to jack it up on the diff, so that's what we're gonna do because I don't know where else we would jack it up. It's actually pretty sad how much rust this car has. Like, these are all rusted out in the bottom, and then you've got all this rust, but there's definitely some rust and wear and tear on this body. Oh, we got the tunes going, and basically I watched a single video and I'm just gonna attempt it. First I'm gonna take off the brake lines, then I'm just gonna unscrew bolts and try and get it all disassembled. I have no idea how this is gonna go. This is really what the channel is about. It's about having no knowledge, taking a wrench, and seeing what you can do. That's kind of the whole purpose of this channel. So, with no experience with watching like a single video, can you go and disassemble your suspension? Probably not, but let's find out. So I think I need a breaker bar. These bolts, I mean, I kind of thought this would happen, but the bolts are too on. I can't get them off. I need something with a lot more leverage to break them off. So we're gonna go to Canadian Tire and get a breaker bar. Okay, so we got a breaker bar, and I believe this should help us because those bolts are just really on there. So I'm kind of in a sticky situation because I've got the caliper off, but it's the brake line is holding it. I'm not really sure, but I think I need to disconnect it because like we're gonna be working in here, and I don't want to have this, you know, supported on some kind of a thing in our way. So I'm just gonna disconnect the brake line. I'm assuming it's gonna release a whole bunch of brake fluid. I really have no idea. Let's get a bucket and just disconnect the brake line. It's just like 2 bolts holding it on. Let's get this rod off, whatever this is, the power steering. Let's get that off, and then we'll take a look at the back. Okay, so I got the nut off of here. You bleed the brake lines, like they're full. It's like still dripping everywhere, and I don't know, maybe I just have to pump the brakes a ton. Like, I don't know. I want to bleed them because it's still dripping everywhere. I had to make another stop to Canadian Tire because I had to get wrenches in order to take the rod arm off. Anyhow, hopefully these work. So let's try and get that off now. Hey. Look at that, guys. We got it off. So there we are. There is our arm, and it's just completely bent. This technically should be straight, I believe, but where are we at under here? You may be wondering. Not very far. So we got the bar off. So now basically I need to disconnect this. I need to disconnect this main piece, but I'm not sure whether I should disconnect the strut first. Okay, so I'm making progress. I got 3 bolts out of the back, and I'm not really sure what's holding it, like the holding this in place. But I'm gonna take a break now, and maybe we'll come back this evening and continue. But for now, I'm just gonna put the bucket under there and let the brake fluid go, and we're gonna come back.
Like Charles and all the small creatures.
Like you
Okay, so where are we at? How long has it been? What's the time? I'm tired. So it's like 9 right now. Anyways, I just came back to the garage. So I'd say I spent about 3 or 4 hours. And basically, I got the strut off. So I'm just working on like the support bar. But basically, I got this out and I got that out. And that's literally, that took me like 3 or 4 hours. The second one should go like way faster because I kind of know what I'm doing now. This first one was just obviously pretty experimental. Wasn't sure exactly what to expect or what I was gonna happen. Whew. I finally think I figured it out. So this, I didn't know how to get this off. It's this electrical piece. I don't know what it does. Maybe it's like the speedometer or something, but I could not figure how to get it off. Anyways, but basically I think you're actually just supposed to disconnect it. If we go up to the box here and we open that, I should just be able to unplug it. And then I just have to be able to get this whole circular piece off. And then I should be able to get this support arm off. Let's see if we can pry this off of this ball joint. Because this is the last point that's attaching it to the vehicle. But the problem is I can't get these ball joints off. The one that's holding this piece on and the one that's holding it to the car. So I'm gonna go look up and see if I can find anything on how to remove those. What I really find online is that basically like just brute force, like it's just sitting in there. So yeah, we're gonna try and pry it out as best we can. I don't know. It just seems so stuck. Okay, so, troubles. Cannot get it off to save my life. The ball joints are just stuck and stuck and stuck. I've tried hitting with a hammer. I'm using a wrench and I'm putting like all my weight on it. It's not coming out. So I have to actually get like an actual puller that will separate it for me. That's probably my best bet, but so that kind of sucks, to be honest. Oh, we got it off, finally. Oh my goodness. I just literally took a hammer and just blasted it, just completely destroyed it, but it doesn't matter because we don't need it. But holy cow, that was incredibly on there. Guys, it just needed a little convincing, just some sweet melodies and gentle words. And it came out just like a little I'm just gonna start installing pieces kind of in the reverse order that I took them out. So we're gonna start with this main piece here, and then we'll, you know, install the sway bar, and then we'll install the link between the sway bar and the control arm, and then we'll install our everything else, whatever. So, the only thing now is to figure out torque specifications, because everything has to be torqued to a specific garbage. So I'm going to see if I can find a list or something. So I think I could just push this bushing on. I don't know. Like, I don't see a problem with that as long as I can. So I'm just trying to install this bushing on the piece, but basically I've been hammering it with a piece of wood in between here and then just hammering it on, but now this is flush, and also, that's kind of scary, I don't want to hurt it. So I got a bucket of soapy water. This is how some guys apparently say you can do it. Get a whole bunch of soapy water on it, and then you just slide it down with a lot of force. So let's try that. So it won't budge. I do have it on a little bit now. Maybe if I just bolt that to the car and then I can push the whole arm in. maybe, probably realistically not, but I'm gonna go do a little research on other ways to get it in, because I got another one to do here and it's not going in very easy. So coming to you live from the editing chamber. It's not live. I'd always criticize people for like losing footage, but yeah, that's what happened. Couldn't get the bushing on, and you need a special bushing puller to basically pull it down on the arm itself. So I took it into my local mechanic shop, I brought it in, they had it done in like 45 minutes because they have the puller there, and it cost me about 40 bucks. And I think that was better than, you know, me going and buying an $80 puller just to use it once and then probably never use it for the next, you know, 3 years. So, you know, some things like that, I think it is just better to have your local mechanic do it because they, you know, they're doing everyone's, and so they have the gear, and they can get it done for you really fast. So that's what happened. I got the bushing on, and then it was just a matter of putting everything back. I didn't run into any other roadblocks. Everything went back just like I took it off. And I still have the other side intact, so I was able to look at that side and basically just copy it, all the bolts and everything. So yeah, I put the strut in, I put all my pieces back in there, just on that one side. And yeah. Okay, so a bunch of time has passed. Honestly, the most hard thing about this is finding the torque specifications. I don't know the names of everything, so I'm like looking through lists, and it's like hard to, anyways, just, that's literally the most time-consuming part, is finding all the torque specifications. But basically, I think we're getting there. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna install the brake caliper, and then we're gonna put all the wiring back in place, and honestly, at that point, we can start dismantling the other side and get the sway bar back in there. It's coming along. We're getting there. Okay, so let's just get the brake caliper on. I don't know how hard this will be, but probably a little bit difficult, I imagine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on the other side. I think it's gonna go way faster because I understand how to do things now. Half an hour, and we should have everything out and be ready to put it back in. So everyone here is ready to go. We just pulled the entire arm out because I could not get that apart. The cow. It's just shit everywhere. The evening, and I apologize, but I went and picked up my friend, and we were working on the car through the afternoon, and I didn't film it. So let me bring you up to speed on what has happened. We got this side out. We were able to use a hammer to get that thing off, because remember, we couldn't get it off. So this side has all new everything, the control bar, and we put the shock in. We already had the shock on the other side. I just made it the same. It went pretty fast because I knew how to do it. So really not that hard. So on the back here, the suspension is split between the coil and then the actual shock here. So we just got to get that coil out, and then the new coil in, and then the new shock in. And it's the same for the other side. We had to pull out all of this in order to get at the shock mounts, which are right there. So literally 2 bolts, really simple, really easy. Same thing on this side. So let's pull those coils out. Can't push this down anymore to release the spring. And it's like the spring is still pretty in there. Like, holy moly. Trying to undo this bolt in order to get this connector. This connects to the sway bar. And basically I need to get that off in order for this whole piece to move so I can pry it down to get the coil out. And you can see there, it just snapped like a little chicken because it's rusted to hell. So what we're gonna do is have to replace that, and yep, oh well, I mean, whatever. It needs to be replaced. It just means might not be a little bit before I can drive the car, but well, whatever, ships are ships. So let's just use some clamps, clamp it down, get it off at least, and then figure out if we can get this coil spring out. It's the reality with working with old vehicles. Everything's rusted, everything needs to be replaced, everything's breaking and rusting and crapping all the time. So yeah, that's the reality, and you know what? Gotta deal with that. So alright, so as it turns out, you just gotta pry it out. I just pried it out now that there's no, like, nothing on the wheels and it falls all the way down. You just use a screwdriver, pry it out. There we go, we got our spring. Let's go line it up with the other one. Lower it by 1 inch or 2, put the other one in, and then do that on the other side. And also not at all tall enough. So what to do? I guess, I don't know. I guess it'll be tall enough once the coil is loaded, but when the car is jacked up, they will be falling off. We'll put the back struts in. Okay, so lucky me that I looked at the instructions before I did anything stupid. So basically, your spring determines your ride height, and then I'm just gonna adjust my shock to match the spring. Jack up the bottom here, and you preload the spring just a little bit. And then you just screw up your jack to match wherever the bolt goes, and then throw the bolt in, and then let the jack down. That's pretty much it. But note to self, if you're getting parts and you don't know how it works, and they're expensive, and you know, stuff like that, just look it up, make sure you're doing it right. There's no point in being stupid about things. Can't go full speed around those corners. Morning of the next day, and we're ready to go back to work. So, progress was made last night. I went home and looked up what all the different pieces are called, and honestly guys, Google is the savior. Anyways, so I figured out all the torque specifications, and I made a list, and I wrote it down on I made a list, I wrote it down on a piece of paper, so we can torque everything up, and let's get that sway bar in, get it torqued up, and then torque everything to specification. I'm gonna torque everything down to spec. Okay, so I'm just reviewing the footage, and so yeah, we lost more footage. The most important part, the conclusion. Okay, so doing your suspension yourself. No expertise, no one to help you, just you and the good old internet and your car. How hard is it? It's really dang easy. Honestly, so this isn't to say it isn't super time consuming. It may take you a week, but it is totally doable. With a simple set of tools, a ratchet set, a wrench set, and a hammer, pretty much anyone could probably take apart a small car suspension and replace it. It's not rocket science, and it's mostly intuitive in my opinion. Now of course, this is just me talking from my own personal experience with my vehicle, and yours may be different, but honestly I think suspension systems can be very similar, especially when you're talking about the same type of vehicle. Now a lot of you might have friends or fathers who already have these tools, and so in that case, this really shouldn't be much of a problem. I would say this is definitely one of the easier things I've done, though definitely took the longest out of anything I've done yet. So yeah, that's been pretty much my journey. I hope this gave you a better idea of what it would be like to do your own suspension, and I must say I really enjoyed it, and it was really cool learning about all the different parts and figuring out the names of everything, and I'm so excited to get my car on the road and start driving it and see how it feels. But till we get to that point, I'll see you guys in a little bit.